In the bustling corridors of Apex Innovations, a towering glass fortress in downtown Chicago, CEO Elena Vasquez ruled with an iron fist wrapped in velvet. At 38, she was a force of nature, sharp suits, sharper decisions, and a net worth that could buy small countries. But on Fridays, something gnawed at her impeccable routine. Marco Ruiz, the quiet janitor who'd been with the company for 5 years, always clocked out at 3 p.m. sharp, vanishing into the city like a ghost. Elena had overlooked it at first, but whispers from HR about his unexplained absences sparked her curiosity. One crisp autumn Friday, as the office hummed with end-of-week energy, Elena decided to follow him. Little did she know this pursuit would shatter her world and rebuild it with threads of unexpected humanity. Elena slipped out of her corner office, trading her heels for flats and her power blazer for a nondescript coat. She tailed Marco from a distance, her heart pounding with a mix of intrigue and suspicion. Marco, a man in his late 50s with salt and pepper hair and a limp from an old injury, moved with purpose through the crowded streets. He boarded a southbound bus toward the city's less glamorous neighborhoods, where gleaming skyscrapers gave way to weathered brick buildings and graffiti-streaked alleys. Elena followed, her mind racing with possibilities. Was he moonlighting? Dealing in secrets? Or worse, betraying the company that paid his modest wage? The bus rattled on, and Elena's phone buzzed with urgent emails. But she ignored them, her eyes fixed on Marco's unassuming figure. As the bus emptied in a rundown district Elena had only seen in charity reports, Marco disembarked and walked briskly toward a cluster of faded row houses. Elena hung back, her designer purse feeling out of place amid the cracked sidewalks and overflowing trash bins. He entered a small community center, its sign reading Hope Haven Shelter in peeling paint. Elena's brow furrowed. A shelter. She waited outside, peering through a grimy window. Inside, Marco shed his janitor's uniform for an apron, greeting a group of children with warm smiles and high fives. They swarmed him like bees to honey, their laughter echoing faintly. Elena's suspicion deepened. What was this? A side hustle? But as she watched, Marco began organizing what looked like a makeshift classroom, pulling out books and art supplies from a battered backpack. Compelled by a force she couldn't name, Elena slipped inside under the guise of a volunteer inquiry. The center smelled of instant coffee and crayons, a far cry from her boardroom's polished oak. Marco didn't notice her at first, too busy helping a young boy with homework. The kids, ranging from 5 to 12, were a mosaic of the city's forgotten. Orphans, foster children, kids from broken homes. Marco moved among them with effortless grace, teaching math to one, reading stories to another, his voice gentle yet firm. Elena lingered in the shadows, her heart twisting as she overheard snippets. Mr. Ruiz, my mom's working late again, a girl said. No worries, mija, Marco replied. We'll make dinner together. Dinner? Elena realized this wasn't a quick stop. Marco was here every Friday, feeding, teaching, and nurturing these children until their guardians could claim them. But the shock came later that evening. As the sun dipped low, casting golden hues through the windows, a volunteer pulled Elena aside. You're new here? Marco's our rock. Lost his own family years ago. Wife and daughter in a car accident. Fridays were their family day. Now he turns that pain into this. Elena's breath caught. She flashed back to Marco's employee file. Widowed, no children listed. He'd never mentioned it, never asked for time off beyond those early Fridays. Instead, he'd channeled his grief into quiet acts of service, leaving work early to honor a memory by creating new ones for others. Elena felt a profound realization wash over her, like a veil lifting. Here was a man earning minimum wage, yet giving more than she with her millions ever had. Her life of mergers and acquisitions suddenly felt hollow, a chase for numbers that ignored the human equation. Elena couldn't leave. She rolled up her sleeves and joined in, awkwardly at first, helping serve a simple meal of pasta and salad that Marco had prepared. The children eyed her curiously, but Marco's warm nod encouraged her. Everyone's welcome here, he said softly, no hint of recognition in his eyes. He didn't know who she was. As the evening unfolded, Elena listened to stories that pierced her armor. A boy dreaming of college despite his foster home's instability. A girl painting pictures to escape her worries. Marco facilitated it all, his selflessness a quiet force. He didn't seek praise. He simply showed up week after week, turning his loss into light for others. Elena's mind reeled, an unexpected turn from suspicion to admiration. How had she, the CEO who prided herself on knowing everything, missed this depth in her own employee? As night fell, the children dispersed and Marco began cleaning up alone. Elena approached him, her voice trembling. "Marco, it's me, Elena Vasquez." His eyes widened in shock but not fear. Resignation, perhaps. "Ma'am, I can explain the early leaves." But Elena shook her head, tears welling. "No, I followed you. I thought something wrong. But this," she gestured to the empty room echoing with the ghosts of laughter. "This is everything, right? Why didn't you tell anyone?" Marco sighed, wiping his hands on his apron. "My pain is mine. But helping them? That's for them. Fridays were for my family. Now they're for these kids. If it costs my job, so be it." Elena's heart shattered. Here was the profound realization. Her empire was built on efficiency, but true power lay in humanity's quiet acts. The emotional climax built as Elena sat with Marco, the shelter's fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. She confessed her own emptiness, divorced, childless, buried in work to avoid the void. "You've built something real here," she whispered. "Let me help." In a surge of compassion, Elena pledged not just her time but resources from Apex. She'd fund expansions, scholarships, programs to support these families. But more than money, she offered her presence, volunteering Fridays alongside him. Marco's eyes glistened. For the first time, someone saw his burden and chose to share it. Their hug was awkward, genuine, a billionaire and a janitor united by shared humanity. In that moment, Elena's act of generosity transformed them both. Marco felt seen, no longer alone in his mission, and Elena rediscovered her soul. Word spread quietly at first. Elena restructured Apex's policies, introducing flexible hours for community service and matching employee donations to local causes. Marco became a mentor in the company's new volunteer program, his story inspiring staff to give back. The children at Hope Haven thrived with new books, tutors, and even a renovated space funded by Elena's initiative. But the real change was personal. Elena and Marco formed an unlikely friendship, Fridays becoming a ritual of healing. She learned to cook simple meals. He shared memories of his daughter, their conversations weaving threads of kindness into everyday life. Years later, as Elena stood at a company gala, not in a gown but jeans, she reflected on that fateful Friday. The audience, a mix of executives and shelter kids now grown, applauded as she awarded Marco a lifetime achievement honor. "In a world chasing success," she said, her voice steady, "true wealth is in the hearts we touch. Marco taught me that selflessness isn't a sacrifice. It's the spark that ignites humanity's fire." The room erupted, but Elena's eyes met Marco's, a silent nod passing between them. Hope Haven had expanded into a network of centers, touching thousands, all because one woman followed her curiosity and found compassion instead. The story of Elena and Marco rippled across the USA, from Chicago streets to national headlines, reminding everyone that kindness bridges divides. In boardrooms and diners alike, people paused, inspired to look beyond facades and extend a hand. It's a universal truth. In our busiest lives, the power of humanity lies in seeing each other, not as roles, but as souls. And in that seeing, we find hope, not just for others, but for ourselves. We are all capable of transformation, one act of generosity at a time.